Good afternoon, everybody. This is the September 23, 2024 meeting of the West Board Commission on Disability. My name is Brian Gallagher. I am the chairman of our commission. Nobody is participating remotely, but we do have a special guest who's here to speak with us, and Martin has had contact with her. Lisa Costa? Is that?
It's Lisa Feidelberg Costa, but since she's a Costa and I'm a Costa, we'll call her a Costa.
Well, when I saw the email, and I said, I saw Mrs. Costa, I said, so why don't you come on up, please, and you can talk to us.
Lisa's going to talk to us about a group she started. She'll tell us all about it, a stroke group with the Council on Aging, kind of a support group that's made together. And also, Lisa would like to talk to us about joining our committee.
Just be careful with, that's a
With the wheels, yeah. I don't know how good that is. Is it okay?
Yes.
Val, do we need a microphone on her, or can you hear her okay? All right, we'll just turn it, Val.
Turn that on.
Okay.
It's just a little flyer that we put together.
Thank you.
If I forget your name, I apologize ahead of time.
That's okay.
Okay.
Lisa, why don't you tell us about your, briefly about your situation and how you got into this, and then tell us about the group here, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So 3 years ago this month, actually, I had a stroke. And as a result of that, I've had, deficiencies. I made my way back from having my left side being, not having any strength. And, obviously, as many other stroke victims have, you have memory loss and you have less strength and falling and vertigo and, a whole host of different medical conditions that I had to find my way back from a wheelchair and ultimately a walker, and now I walk with a cane. I just recently started driving, but that's preliminary because if I don't feel comfortable, obviously I'm not going to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then a year ago I had a brain bleed, which unfortunately I had a little hiccup in my physical therapy. So it's like I'm starting over again, but I'm not giving up. So I just keep plugging along, and through my challenges, I had the opportunity of meeting the Council on Aging, which of course, in my busy corporate life, I never knew existed. And that was really my introductory into being disabled. And, and I'm not working, so I'm totally disabled now because I can't do the job that I used to do, and never realized the laws and organizations that are out there that protect people with disabilities. And unless you've experienced a disability, such as myself, it was actually my physical therapist that went to the COA and got me a wheelchair and a commode and anything that I needed, and she really took it upon herself. I was thinking, I had to go and purchase these items, for my recovery. And she was the one who introduced me to the COA. And I mentioned to my husband at the time that when I am able, I am going to get to the COA, wherever they're located. Didn't realize I was 2 miles away from them. And see what I could do, because I just feel that it's so sad that people don't feel that they have support. You really do feel like they're all alone when you have a disability. And then in conjunction with that, I wanted to start a little group. It's all well and good when you have people that are in the medical profession that treat people with disabilities, but when you are the person that's disabled, the other people that are disabled have a lot to say. And they don't feel they have a voice.
Right.
And that's really where my dedication, with my personal experience, I reached out to people in my church and people that I knew in business, and come to find out they had loved ones. We all started talking on the phone because we weren't mobile. And that's really where it began. And then from there, I just figured I want to take it a step further now that I am mobile. And And I ended up meeting people that had strokes 19 years ago and, you know, have disabilities. I almost want to change stroke buddies to another word. I didn't want to say like a victim or recovering or, you know, have like a negative connotation. I want it to be a happy group. And, you know, there's many things we laugh about. I mean, I try to clean my house. I never know where I leave the cleaners. And you know, people say, at least you don't have to have a stroke to have that happen, you know. It's funny, but in the same token, it's still a challenge that we deal with on a daily basis.
Yep.
And so I went to see Mr. Hartnett, asking him if he would be a guest speaker. And in doing so, he said, Lisa, you really need to get in touch with the Westport Coalition. And I said, well, they're on my list, I guess. And he was the one who encouraged me. But I really wanted Mr. Hartnett to come and speak about what Westport does as a town for people with disabilities. A personal friend of mine is Mark Montigny. He's also going to come after the first of the year because we're going to have guest speakers that will speak about, on a state level, what do we do for people with disabilities, not just people that have a stroke. And really just try to encompass all of that and have guest speakers once a month in addition to our monthly meetings. So I'm in the infancy stage, of course, looking for ways to strengthen the voice of people with disabilities. And with my little group, I'm hoping that we can model it and just expand with people who want to take that initiative and really be a support for each other.
Well, that's wonderful. Do you have a way other than flyers to get the word out, let people know that you're an organization available to?
So what we're in the process of doing now is Bev Bish. I think that's her last name, Beverly Bish.
Yes.
She's been, yeah, awesome with me, and there's another lady in the office who has agreed to co-found this with me as well, and her name is Maria. And she's in charge of starting groups with the COA and all of that. And they're going to put us in their calendar that they have monthly. I did take the initiative to go out to the fire and police to see if they would put us on their websites and, you know, Lee's Market and other businesses. But I have relatives that have podcasts. I don't think we're ready for that yet, but it's a way to have people that, you know, that's like the new millennial thing to have podcasts.
Do you have a Facebook account? Did you try?
We're doing that
Paste
now.
it. That's a good way to get it out.
Exactly.
Good. Excellent.
And but I think though too, and maybe I can get your opinion on this. You know, I don't want anyone to feel like they have to have a stroke to join us to be a buddy. I think you know, we can elaborate that, because we really want to work with the people that have the disability, not necessarily a stroke, because I wouldn't want to turn anybody away. Because the Disabilities Act, as I'm reading more and more about it, I'm consuming myself with it. Because, you know, when you become disabled, you want to be useful, right? So I don't have a job, my corporate job, to go to anymore. So it really fills a void with me, but also gives me a voice to speak, you know, personally about what I've endured, but maybe help somebody else not feel so alone.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
That's why many of us are involved, to try to reach out and help people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Does your organization need financial assistance as you go along?
Well, that was another good thing. So in my former life, I did a lot of fundraising.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I can't even think about how much money that we raised, and so now I have a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, my own kind of way to help the Westport Coalition and also to help your organization as well. I think that's one of the reasons why I was really happy when Mr. Costa reached out to me. And he did it in such a comical way, which I loved. You know, I don't have any relatives.
That's Mountain.
We share the last name, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I'm gonna put you in touch with Brian. I was like, okay, let's do it, you know. And that's really the way it should be, because people are fearful. And especially when you have a disability, they want to fit in, they don't want to be the oddball out, they don't want to call attention
True.
to themselves.
Yeah, sometimes they're embarrassed.
Exactly. Or they just don't understand, you know, and not because of language barrier, just because of kindness. This world has gotten very angry. I don't get involved in any politics or anything, but if I have somebody that I can call that's in politics that's going to help us, we're going to do it.
Mark Montigny is a good senator.
Mark has been a personal friend of mine, and I helped with the city of New Bedford when they brought Passionata. I don't know if you guys even remember that, when they did the movie about the fish.
Oh, yes, yep, yep.
Yeah, and Governor Dukakis and his sister, and I set up, you know, all of the parties and everything that, you know, was affiliated with that. And Mayor Kalis was always a great man and a personal friend, so I did a lot for the city in raising money for different organizations that, you know, I was privileged to work with. And so I want to use those talents now to do something with disability.
Well, good. Well, if you ever do get to the point where you do find yourself in need of some funds, keep this in mind, because
Absolutely.
as it turns out, every year we're looking for ways to help people, and we do have some money available because all the parking fines come to us, the ones that people, where they park in an handicap parking space and they don't have a placard or a license plate. If they got the $250 fine, that money ends up coming to our commission.
Okay.
So we have money, and we're looking for ways to spend it to help people.
Terrific. We're, like I said, we're in the infancy stage, so I would look for guidance as to what we need to do to establish ourselves. I'm looking into a 501c3. I'm not sure if that's the route to go. Like I'm a little out of water because a lot of the fundraising we did was for companies and corporations, and you know, we would do runs, and I was very involved with wastewater treatment because that's what I did for a living. And we would do a lot of golf tournaments, and you know, a lot of my expertise were geared around, you know, prominent businessmen that, you know, if they don't donate, you know, the pot will go empty, so they want to donate. You know what I mean?
What are you looking to do with Stroke Buddies? Are you looking to provide education? Are you looking to provide equipment or services? Or do you, or you're not
Support
quite
group.
sure?
Yeah.
I think Stroke Buddy's mission, in my opinion, is to embrace your new normal. And it's really for the patient, you know, not, we're going to be patients really for the rest of our lives. We're going to have this disability for the rest of our lives. And you have to embrace your new normal, whatever that is. I can have a stroke, you can have a stroke, and God forbid. But where we are in life, it could be one end of the spectrum to the other. And I really feel that it's important that people with disabilities know that they have a voice. And we have to learn how to embrace the new normal, but we don't really want to embrace that new normal because we want to be the way we used to be.
Right, sure,
Everybody
sure.
wants that. And I think that that's important to know that, number one, you're not alone. And the nurses and the doctors get you where you need to be, because I don't want to say that's their job, but it really is their job, and their empathy and all of that comes with it is great. But when you're home with your family and they don't understand why you're acting the way you're acting, or why you're depressed, or what those feelings are, and the insecurities and the challenges that you deal with in everyday life that you never had to deal with before, that's a tall order. And that's where I feel Stroke Buddies, or you know, can play a part. Absolutely, if we can supply, I don't want to take anything away from COA. I mean, they do a phenomenal job when you need a cane and you need any type of equipment, and anything that we can do to enhance that is going to be beneficial. But there are a lot of companies out there that if you don't knock on their door, they don't know you exist. But they'll give you money, but you have to ask for it.
Sure.
So I think that's almost like a separate entity. This, I want to be a support group, and if we can have other avenues that we can generate for different organizations, why not?
Lisa, you asked for an opinion. I'm going to give you an opinion. I've been spinal cord injured for 39 years, and I used to go to a spinal cord injury support group. I think you should start off, as you're saying, as a support group, because most people, like you said, feel alone, want to talk about all the same things that everyone with a stroke or a spinal cord injury, in my case, has to deal with, and then see where it goes from there, and then expand from there, whether you want to do entertainment and go on trips later on and do something like that, or whether you want to raise money for the Stroke Association of America, or I don't know what it's called, you know, I mean, we did things like that, raise money for cure research and different things like that, but I would take it one step at a time, you know what I mean, because there's a lot of things that, you know,
We can branch
You
off
could do.
into so many different
Right.
areas. And that's one of the reasons why I reached out to Mark, and I said, you know, Mark, his dad had a stroke many, many years ago, and he's been a long-sitting senator for ADA, and he's done remarkable things with regards to that on his level. Never realizing that, you know, I'd be knocking on his door, you know, 40 years later saying, you know, I had a stroke.
yeah, you just never know.
Right, and I think that that's important. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, like, for instance, the town manager, I didn't know who the town manager was, and I live in Westport, and I've been here for 20 years. I think it's important for people with disabilities to know who our fire chief is. That's why I would like to have him come as a guest and speak about, you know, what do you do in case of an emergency? I had an emergency where we had an electrical fire at my house just about 2 weeks ago, and I was panicked. So all of these things that go through your mind, you know, you have to have a route and an exit route, and being disabled goes right out the window. And you don't even have to have a disability if you have a fire at your house. It's going to go right out the
Right.
window. And the fire chief and the people who came were just so genuine. And, you know, it's funny, they said to me, Lisa, we meet people on their worst day. And I said, I'm going to use that because it's the truth. And it shouldn't be that way. I want to know who my fire chief is. I want to thank the crew that came to my house personally, not at my house, you know. And I think it's important for Westport to get to know these people. You know, they used to have National Night Out. I don't know if we ever did that in Westport, but especially for people who are disabled. It's a way where people can come to the fire department and visit, and, you know, talk to the rescuers and not necessarily meet them on their worst night or worst day if they need their services, but just to kind of like know what's in Westport.
One of the things we learned along the way is that the fire department will come to your house and put a lockbox up near the door
Yes,
in case
in case you
You
lock
gotta get
yourself
in.
out.
you
No,
lock
no.
yourself, or if you're
For
in
them.
the house and you can't get to the door.
Exactly.
They will be, and they will install it for you, they'll give it to anybody who needs one at a discounted price.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to encourage the disabled residents of our community to contact the fire department and have them come do that for them.
Exactly. And they discuss those things on National Night Out, what they provide for constituents that live in the area. And they do it for the police department as well.
Yeah.
And so I knocked on their door and I gave them a flyer, and they're hoping to get a sit down with them, and maybe we can get some type of a link, you know, when we're doing our meetings, but, you know, and take everybody along with us. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't have to be disabled, you know, God forbid if you ever needed a fire or police department. They need to interact with the people in their
On
town.
their website, I'm just, an FYI, on their website, both the fire department and the police department, so the fire department does the Westport Cares.
Mhm.
They'll come out, they'll look at your house, they'll get you new fire alarms, smoke detectors if you need them, they'll come in and change your smoke detectors. If you're disabled or elderly and unable to climb up to do them, they'll schedule and come out twice a year to change that. The police department also has programs where they'll do wellness calls. I think this is great. As any conduit that can help spread the information, but, you know, I encourage you to look at, on our website, we've got a lot of links that on our website to different organizations in the community and in the state.
The drawback to that, though, is there's a lot of people that are of age don't use a computer, and they don't use the modern technology. I'm helping a gentleman right now who lost his license with the state, and he runs a farm because he couldn't do his ComEd credits online. He had the license for 40 years. That's not right. And he's fighting cancer now. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, that they're there. I get it. but now we have to make it accessible to people that don't have the technology to reach out.
What do you suggest?
Well, this is a learning curve for me. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I'm saying that I'm willing to try to figure out what some of the answers can be.
We'd love to hear it. We'd love to find new ways to get our information out to the public. And
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, sometimes you just have to get out there yourself and deliver it, you know what I mean? So, I mean, we used to have boots on the ground, you know, and I think, you know, as we get bigger and better and people realize, you know, what we're trying to do, my hope is that I'll get volunteers that will assist me in doing this, because you can't do it alone. But in the same token, you have to have the same playing field. Millennials are wonderful at technology. I ask, you know, my nieces and nephews, and you know, to help me with my phone or what have you, and they're unbelievable with technology. I didn't grow up with technology, and there's a lot of people that are older than myself that won't even touch technology. They don't even have cell phones half the time. So, you know, that's where I think that it's important for us, or myself, especially with my group, to assist in bridging that gap.
One thing I would recommend would be, my daughter was born with Down syndrome, and in the hospital, you get varying levels of understanding. You get some that's a very medical conversation
Yes.
about, hey, here's what you should expect and here's what you should not. You've got genetic counselors who maybe are looking for perfection with genetics, and then so don't know how to handle genetics that maybe aren't. And so it's a complete wild card. And we've talked to many, many parents who have had all kinds of different experiences in the hospital. And so what pre-COVID we have been doing is there's a local family group called 21 Friends, and then there's the Massachusetts Down Syndrome Congress, and they had implemented an in-hospital program. So when there was a family who had a child born and they had no pre-diagnosis and they just found out in the hospital, and you've now got a newborn and you're dealing with all the newborn challenges, and now you've got this massive unknown. Well, there was this family group that could come in, and it would often be, you know, a mom or a dad with a child with Down syndrome. They'd bring them a blanket. They'd say, here's all the stuff. When you're ready, here's some other parents you can call,
Right.
and everything's going to be okay. You know, the doctors will tell you this, and you certainly worry about the medical side, but for your family, here's some resources. And it sounds like that may be something to consider as well, where, you know, when, you may have experienced something similar, where you're trying to absorb all of the medical concerns, but if then you just had a folder of, when you're ready, here's a friendly voice you can call to ask some questions, here's some resources in your local town or community. That may be a nice way to get people, and it's non-technical, it's a handout that you can get right there. So in our experience, many of the local hospitals have been open to that.
Mm-hmm.
They actually would like to have that, they just don't know who to ask for it.
Oh, yeah.
But it supplements the medical care with a little more, human care. So.
I agree with you 100%. My family had a lot to do with South Coast Hospitals, where my mother worked there for many, many years, over 40 years till she passed. And my care team that took care of me personally, especially the rehab, Dr. Yin, we're going to be doing some fundraisers, even to help, some of the people that can't do continuing education, some of our nurses and, some of our, there's aides there that, might not have that out-of-pocket, monies that we can donate to them. I was there for well over 30 days, almost 2 months, and, they just did everything for me and my family, and it was just amazing what they did do and the sacrifices that they do make, for a patient. So I think overall, there's just so many caring people out there, and a lot of people, though, too, with disabilities, won't ask. They won't ask for, they won't reach out, some of them, and I think that's important, too. And a lot of times, they feel uncomfortable reaching out because they don't want to ask for help.
Right.
So I think you have to weigh out all the options and, look at everything, with a kind manner, and just see, where we fit and what we can do, and how I can move forward, and taking other people's ideas and guidance, and I think it will be a success.
Well, you've given us a lot to talk about and a lot to think about, but you also handed us your flyer
Yes.
called Stroke Buddies.
Yes.
and you're having a get-together on September 26th from 11 to noon.
Yes.
Val, can you see this?
I can leave her where she wants.
I wasn't
ready for it.
I can scan a copy and put it on our Commission on Disability site as well.
And Val,
We'll do that.
That's a good idea.
Okay, I got it now.
I'm the outpatient rehab manager for South Coast, so I'll make sure that all of our sites have this up
Yeah.
in all the sites so that
So
patients
you're
can see
the
it.
lady that Sandy reached out to?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
She did tell me that
So
she
I'll,
was gonna reach out.
I'll take care of that,
Thank
both inpatient and outpatient tomorrow.
Yeah, South Coast has done a remarkable, do you know Dr. Yan?
I do.
Oh,
Yep.
I think the world of her. Wonderful.
And as Rick mentioned, we will put it on our website, and hopefully people will see it and come and give you a call. And come
Thank you.
give you
We're doing a soft opening from now until the end of the year for our members, just so that we can encourage members to come. It might be a slow start.
Oh,
And then come after the first of the year is when we're gonna start our guest speakers, and highlight different things that we're going to start to introduce to the group. So really, September, October, are we in September? You want to say
Yeah.
October?
Still, yeah.
I apologize.
Not
That's
much.
the stroke.
I asked and I don't have a stroke.
September, October, November, and December is gearing up. It's a soft kickoff,
Okay.
for our
Yeah.
members, and then we'll start to invite our guest speakers to come in after the first of the year.
How
Because
many-
some people are tough to get into your schedule, so you need to
Right.
kind of gear up for them. Mark Montigny is going to be our first guest
Oh,
speaker.
good.
Yes,
How
and
many-
we'd love to have him.
Well, thank you. How many speakers, how many members?
We're going to
do
be
you have?
having, we only have 5 members right now, but
Okay.
that we just started.
that's a good start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with 5 members.
Yeah, we have 5. Well,
Good.
because we haven't really, we just really got our
Sure,
flyer
sure.
together just last week. We're starting our Facebook. It's just
Good.
going to be.
I think this will just
fun.
expand. You're gonna see, once the word gets out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ran a strong stroke support group back in the 2020, 2005s and 010s, and
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it becomes a robust group, and then unfortunately, as participants either age out or medically
Right.
phase out or feel like, I've given as much as I want to give, it has kind of petered away. But support groups are such an integral part of continued rehab,
And that's one of the reasons.
lifelong.
Exactly.
Agreed.
And that's one of the reasons why I want to make it fun, and I want to make it different, and having different guest
Sure.
speakers.
Sure.
And, maybe doing a movie night,
Right.
we can actually do a movie night, sponsored by Stroke Buddies, or we can do, whatever the group and the members really want to do and want to see. They might miss certain music nights. My family has a scholarship over at UMass Dartmouth, and the music department that, these kids are remarkable in what they do, and they always look for places to play and, show their talents and feature their artwork and different things like that. And I'd like to bring that to the COA and, have it for the group as well, or even the town. I don't know how big it will be, but, if we keep growing, my hope is to do things on a larger scale, but everyone starts, I want
Sure.
to be proficient at what we're doing. I just don't want this thing to be something thrown together.
Mhm.
But I really want to, give my 100% attention to detail and make
Do-
sure that.
Do you have your meetings at the Council on Aging?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. we have
And,
that for
and
contact.
anybody who's interested can call the number
They
on your
can
flyer
call,
at
yeah.
any time?
Absolutely.
This is your personal phone number?
No, that's the Council on
Okay.
Aging phone number. And they actually recommended that I put my name on it, and I just felt that, they're gonna know who I am. I'm a firm believer in spotlighting the group that I'm working with, not necessarily the person.
Mhm.
And people who've known me, for the years, in communities will know who I am, and, maybe not even realize, a lot of people don't even know that I had a stroke 3 years ago. So I really want the focus to be on the group.
Okay, so anybody who's interested, just call the
They
Council
can
on
come,
Aging?
yeah, and they can reserve a seat, not that, anybody will be turned away. We're in I believe we're in, think they have an advisory council room. We're starting off in their boardroom, if you will. And then if we get bigger than that, then Beverly Bish has reassured me that we won't outgrow them.
Great,
So they'll always be with us.
Good news.
wonderful.
Well,
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming in and speaking to us.
Thank you. And I would like to also let you know that I would like to join the coalition as well.
Well, thank you. It's one of the things that we will talk about because if we need a new member, we will keep you in mind.
Okay.
As you can see, not all of our members are here today, so
Sure.
maybe along the way we'll lose one or two and we'll give you a call.
Thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate
very
your time.
welcome.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you, Lisa. I'll talk to you, okay?
Okay.
You've got my email.
I do.
We'll exchange numbers sometime, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Thanks for everything.
Thank you so much for coming.
Good luck with it.
Speaking of potential new members, I also received an email from a gentleman named Steve Matriciano, who said he would be interested in joining.
Oh, how interesting. Okay.
So there are people who would like to join us. I think right now we're at the maximum number of members.
Is that what's happening? Because I hate to turn away somebody
Yeah.
like Lisa or whatever. Why can't we add somebody else? We never have a full group.
Or at the same time, I mean, I really enjoy being on this, but I feel like if somebody, as a typically able-bodied person, I would rather have somebody maybe provides a little bit different viewpoint. So if there's somebody that's really a strong candidate that would like to step forward, I don't mind stepping out for a while, and I can always come back, or I can always sit on that side of the room, right? There's plenty of room on that side of the room. So, you know, for what that's worth, if people want to do that.
Brian, what is it? Are we allowed only 7 members, or what is it?
I
Do you know?
think we are at the maximum number
Okay. I see.
that the commission, that a commission is allowed to have.
Okay.
Jeff, Paul.
Some groups, and I'm not sure what the rules are for different ones, they have alternates.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a good idea.
having difficulty meeting a quorum because people are not able to be here. An active person who's actively interested, like her, might be sitting in one of these chairs and then available as an alternate, so you could at least have a quorum for that meeting and have a vote.
Yeah.
So you might want to pursue, I don't know if you have a charter or what, I don't know who can have alternates and who can't, but that might be something to pursue.
Thank you. Well, maybe we should get back to our agenda.
Yes.
Okay. Did everybody receive the minutes that I sent out on June 28th?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody have any suggestions for changes or additions?
No.
I have a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's been carried, the minutes have been approved. Along the way, I received from the planning board an email, because we got on the list about any potential new developments in town. And there was an application for a new development called, I think, Bentley Estates. Yes, Bentley Estates number 2. And the developers were asking that for a request to waive sidewalks in accordance with rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land, section 5, subsection B, number 7. Now, Sue and I went before the planning board several months ago, and at that time, each subdivision that had 10 houses or more was required to have sidewalks. we made the application that, saying that 10 is way too many, they should reduce that number, and after our presentation, the planning board agreed to reduce the number to 5. So any development that has 5 or more houses must have sidewalks on one side of the street. And Bentley Estates has more than 5 houses in the subdivision, so I responded by notifying the planning board that it was our understanding that there's supposed to be sidewalks, and that we see no reason to eliminate that requirement. Because there was nothing compelling stated in the application.
That's what I would like to know. Why do they always get rid of
They don't wanna do
it?
it.
Besides the profit
I think
motives,
it's
you know?
Cost
The
and
cost, yeah.
aesthetic, they may not like the look of it, but sorry, it's
Yeah.
important
Agreed.
and it's safe and.
Unless they can give us a compelling reason, you know what I mean, of a safety issue or something to that,
Right.
which, hello, sidewalks, you know, enhance safety.
Right.
I don't think we should ever back down from that.
If a reason were put forth, I think we should consider it, but no reason was put forth,
No.
compelling or not.
Right.
And
Just didn't
since
want to do it.
no compelling reason was put forth, so we don't.
This is like the second or third time this has happened with different developments, so
So,
seems to
well,
be the go-to thing. Let's see if we can get that waived.
Right, and they're gonna try to find a path of least resistance. If they can apply for a waiver and if they get it, then
Right.
easy for them.
Right.
But
well, you
I'm
know,
inclined to say no.
we all understand it's a capitalistic society and you want to maximize your profits. And I imagine that sidewalks are not inexpensive to put down. I don't know the exact cost, but you perhaps can pass the cost along to the people who are buying and as a hidden cost somewhere along the way. But these developers thought to go this route instead. So we'll see what the planning board decides to do.
Good. I'll talk around.
Agreed.
The next thing on the agenda is there's going to be an accessibility webinar relative to new and updated buildings. And Martin and I both signed up for it. It's we have a date of October 3, I think.
I wrote it down, I don't recall, but yes, it's during the week, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's I think it's the 3rd. But
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
have to check with the keeper of my calendar when I
Yeah.
get there.
Yes.
And we'll have to wait and see what they have to say and if we have any opportunity to give input. Because from what I've seen in the local papers, it seems like the town is more and more leaning toward keeping the old high school
Mm-hmm.
and repurposing it for all the town buildings, including the town annex and maybe even the council on aging. So if that happens, we want to make sure that we have some input into accessibility issues. Now, Martin and I are on the ADA transition team along with Andrew, and Jim Hartnett is the ADA coordinator. Martin and more so than me, have been in touch with Lizette from Serped, and it's Serped who is developing the plan. Now, just today, I received an email from Lizette that they've reviewed the old plan, and Serped finds that the old plan has been substantially complied with in terms of certain things. The new buildings in town, the police department, fire department, have been found to be in substantial compliance with the ADA. She said there were a couple things here and there that had to be adjusted or tweaked. But there is a 5-year plan, an updated plan that's being developed. And I asked her to keep us advised going forward as to what those potential changes might be. Because the email that she sent me did not include any specifics about what might happen going forward. But if and when I receive anything or Martin receives anything, we'll be sure to report back to our commission. The next thing on the agenda is the beaches. I saw an article in the paper recently, and I only put this on there because I know the season is now ended. But I saw this recent article that said that the beach committee, and Sean Leach was quoted in the article, that the committee plans to improve access at East Beach.
Mhm.
Now I'm thinking, that's gonna be quite an undertaking, because I haven't been to East Beach, I've actually been on the beach recently. But as far as I could get, we're a few feet into the cobbles,
Right.
and set up something to sit on.
Mm.
And that's a long time ago. But I know people who do go to the actual beach at East Beach, and it's not a big beach, but there is a sandy beach there. But they are able-bodied people who are able to get from their cars down to the beach, which is several feet below the roadway. So how the beach committee plans to make that accessible is beyond me, but we'll wait and see.
From what I understand from Sean, I had, not recently, but maybe it was even last year, a few months ago, a discussion about, he said that he saw a gentleman, a disabled gentleman, having a difficult time just parking on the beach. So I think the idea is just to be able to park facing the ocean so you can look at it, not necessarily to get down to the water and go swimming.
Okay.
Because I don't know how that would be done either. I mean, I don't think that was the idea. So he wanted to just put a specific handicap parking spot facing the water.
You clean out some of the rock. Gotcha.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's good,
Makes more
because that
sense.
would provide handicap parking, but then the next question is, where do you go from there? How do you get actually to the water
Right.
if you have a disability? Jeff?
I know when I was on the beach committee, we looked into that, just the reality of the shifting cobble from year to year,
Sure.
and it's really hard. I mean, that, and just the idea, and there's also, and we faced the same thing when there was a plan to create a walkway at the Melville, that because it's what's called a velocity zone, the state DEP actually trumps trumps accessibility issues. And so that you're typically not allowed to build structures in velocity zones with the idea that big storms would pick up the
Sure.
cobble and then take whatever structure
Okay.
that was there and start throwing that. So that it's challenging. And I know that the particular handicap person you're speaking with goes to East Beach every day almost, because I drive by there a lot on my way to Gooseberry, and he is there, he parks most of the time. He used to park across from the life-saving station. For some reason now he parks on the northern side of the road and hangs out in his wheelchair. He's a vet,
Mhm.
and enjoys his day.
But you don't get the impression he's looking to get into the water. He's more like,
No.
wants to be close by it.
Yes, no, he just wants, I mean, and, yeah, he would just like, I expect, if this is the person they're talking
Yeah,
about.
I think so.
Just a dependable place that he can park.
Exactly.
And just get out of his van if it's a nice day and sit in the sun and talk to his friend.
Enjoy the beach.
So, and that's realistically, most, I would say easily 50% of the people who use East Beach, that's how they use it.
Right.
They do not go down the cliff into the water.
Agreed.
And I'm pretty able-bodied. I have difficulty.
Yeah, it's
because
tough.
It's like walking on bowling balls
Right.
to try to get down that cliff. And it's, I mean, it's almost like I know a few times I've taken a walking stick with me just to stabilize myself, just to get down to the water's edge. It is challenging, and I don't see how that's gonna change. I mean,
No.
it's difficult to pave. I mean, maybe they could flatten out an area somehow. But I know it's challenging, because we even tried recently to flatten out Emmett Landing,
Mhm.
and the Concom didn't want us to do it.
Right.
So,
Right.
part of that is the politics that's going on within the town, people that have trailers, not a whole issue with cobble, and I think just getting a parking sign up
Right.
would
would be good enough for now. I agree. I don't think we need to pursue it to get somebody into the water there. We have access at the Nubble, we have access at
North.
Baby Beach, North
Mhm.
Beach. And also, you've also got that problem when the storms come up, all that, like you said, all that gets all, you know what I mean?
The
Right.
recent storms that we had.
So you can't, if you go to put something down there, it's gonna get destroyed with the next big storm,
And
so.
It took the town highway department days to clear the road,
Yeah,
and some of it got put back, and some of it got carted away, and
Right.
there's an agreement that it will get put back on
put back, yeah.
the water side. But with the shifting matter of our, and what nature is, that beach could change in
In an
a
instant.
given storm.
In the 70s, that was sand.
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you don't
amazing.
remember
Remember
that
that?
also?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it-
can remember going there,
Oh,
and
boy.
it was maybe
Yeah, now
4
that
or
you're saying
5
that,
feet of
that's right.
rock.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
then there was sand
Quite a
for
bit of
a
sand. You
good
could lay out, you could lay
20
up
feet.
there.
And
Yeah.
there were nice, large houses along each,
Yeah.
Mm.
that got washed away in one of the hurricanes.
That was before my time.
I did not sit down, I witnessed it. So, the next thing is the geogrids on Beach Avenue. I know that some of the recent storms, a section of the one side got exposed because water was running down and created a trench in that area. I have not been over there in
I went today because I'd like it noted by this committee that when I see status of geogrids on Beach Avenue, that means Martin.
That means
Head down there and find out what's going on. So I did, I went down. No, I'd like to keep an eye on it since it was kind of my idea, not my idea, but I really pushed the whole idea of geogrids. But I'm happy to report that there's only one little square that is exposed on the north side because the sand kind of dips down, so, you know, just erodes. I think it'll be fine until the spring. I don't think that the highway department should fix it right now because it's just gonna disappear again over the winter. But it was still pretty damn solid. I parked my truck on there. It obviously could use some leveling and so forth, but again, right now, I mean, the whole road is a mess. You know, there's all kinds of potholes to
Yeah.
get down there, and I don't think anybody's gonna be using it right now. I was happy to see, by the way, last time I went down, which was a few months ago, there were no handicap signs. They had been knocked over or pulled out or whatever. Now they're back up, both right at the entrance to Beach Avenue and also at the end. There are two there, so I think it's in pretty good shape.
I went down quite a bit this summer. It's just become my beach of choice.
Good.
And I am happy to say many times the police had either just been there and tagged,
Oh,
or as I was leaving, were pulling in. So they were, I think they did it. I want to make note that I think the police did an excellent job this summer,
Good.
being down there and tagging. Not only people that are in handicap parking spaces without placards and plates, but just in general, people that just didn't have beach stickers. I think that, you know, in past years, it's been kind of hit or miss. Some days
Yeah.
you're down there and they're tagged, and some days, you know, they're there all day and people are fishing and parked in the handicap spots and parked
Yep.
where they don't belong. But this year, I thought they did
Well,
a good job.
good to know. I mean, it's a beautiful beach,
Mm.
and it's an accessible beach.
It's easy. Yeah, it's easy.
Which brings me to the next item, is the new mobility mats. We have in the past had mobility mats at Beach Avenue, and they are put down by the conservation people, the Lane Trust here in town, and then they store them. But we have in the past talked about extending them from
Mm-hmm.
where they began further up to the road, because there was
there was a
section
gap there, yeah.
Mhm.
that would make it difficult for people, particularly in wheelchairs, to get up and onto the mobility mats.
And the other way. So, you know, you kind of, if you take the, pocket the geogrids, get up on the mobility mats, there's one that goes kind of straight
That's
into the
right.
rock structure, and there's one that kind of veers to the right.
Yes.
But it still kind of parks you in no man's land.
It
So
does.
it kind of parks you up on the sand. And so if you wanted to go, you know, get to the water's edge,
You
you
couldn't.
still can't. So, and I don't know if that's viable. I don't know
I
if
don't know if that goes
the
back to the
mobility
velocity thing,
mats-
if they'll let us go that far.
They were reluctant because it gets picked up by the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know the other thing that happened is the sands shifted so much
Mhm.
that
That's right.
between that last large rock,
Yes.
let's say last furthest facing the water to the right, between that and whatever limited it, sand filled in, so where it used to be about 6 feet wide,
That's true.
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
suddenly only
Yeah,
this
that's
wide.
true.
It is.
Yeah,
And so, and then the topography changed, and it fell off pretty quickly to the water, so that I think the maps were getting picked up
gotcha.
by
Okay.
wave action, and, I don't know, I would think that if the mats are put down in like 30-foot sections,
Mhm.
then,
Might be too long.
well, if it starts ripping up at the water's edge
Right.
at 30 feet, then it rips the
Right.
whole thing,
Exactly.
just like,
Yeah.
but if you were to cut them into 10-foot sections,
Right.
maybe it's like, well,
You
so
get
what, I
10,
picked up
yeah.
10 feet, but we still got 20 and got us closer.
Yeah.
So but it's worth pursuing, which is
Yeah.
possibilities, and also in the spring, early, see how the sands have shifted again.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll
Right.
be new opportunities
Right.
for, getting people down close.
Or you maybe go horizontal along
Agree with you
with
there.
the coast.
I was gonna say that, because you're right, it is no man's land. If you wanna sit in your wheelchair on the beach, not even worry about getting into the water, you can't even get over there, correct? Because it stops right there.
Well, you can get, yeah, you can get to the sand that's kind of up high, but maybe even if we couldn't go, what would that be, south towards the water,
Mm.
maybe we could go west
West.
towards the shore.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, put it on your calendar.
Yeah, take
for
a peek.
March and
Yeah.
go look and see
Yeah.
what do we got to work with.
I think
Yeah.
given the shifting sands every year, it would, for a number of reasons, both for the beaches, but also potentially other uses, having a couple extra mobility mats available would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think so
In the
too.
years when it works, great, we can stretch it out. If
Right.
there's shifting sands and
Mhm.
one year we don't use one,
Mhm.
but it's needed at another town event, then at least it's available.
Right.
The one and only time that I actually made it there, the mats were actually extended all the way out,
Uh-huh.
and they weren't divided. But then because of storm action,
Yeah.
and we had a conversation with Ross, and he said, look, this is the best we're gonna be able to do because of the shifting sands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the way they have been set out for the past couple of years. Now, our commission has discussed new and more mobility mats.
Yeah.
And we got the approval to do that, and the town accountant issued the check.
Great.
Hopefully so, it was late. My fault.
Yeah, and although Martin has not purchased or brought us donuts, he does do all the legwork in terms of picking up the check and ordering the mats, and telling the accountant where to send the check.
Yeah,
And now Martin has the mats in
yeah, I
his
picked them on my
garage.
barns, yep, they're just sitting there, so there's 100 feet, correct, yeah, 250,
Great.
250-foot, what do you want to call them, rolled up, they're still inside the plastic and everything, so whoever needs them, when they need them, will.
Well, next season, as the
Yeah.
summer season approaches, we should talk to the conservation folks, and talk to Ross
Yeah, and see what we
about that,
can use them.
and see if they can be.
You know what we forgot to order though was the stakes. I don't think they come with stakes, correct?
No, the mobility mats, I don't think they do.
I would assume that company sells them, so maybe
Yeah.
I should contact them and ask them to have a
Yeah.
few of those on hand. Do you agree?
I would
Yeah,
assume we need them, yeah.
All right,
don't
I mean,
know
you
how
can't-
many-
you can't hold that thing down
I don't know
without
how many
stakes.
feet they are, I don't
Right.
know how many.
right.
Yeah.
They
Ross
do-
might know that.
They do need to be anchored, so please
Okay.
do contact them.
Okay,
And find out what the cost might be,
okay,
so that we can, maybe order some.
yeah. But this also was important because wasn't Deb Weaver from the Rivershed Alliance said that she was looking, for River Day, she was
Right,
looking
for
for
River Day, she was
more
looking for
mats
some.
so
Yep.
that folks in, wheelchairs could get.
Yeah, we
to the
looked at
town.
this year, they did a nice job with it, but it is,
Oh, really?
on the watershed side of the river it's great accessibility because they've done all that up again, but
Right.
on the drift road side, and it had just rained, it was muddy and there's
Oh,
a
bummer.
hill and I could imagine it would be a little challenging to get
Yeah.
around on that side. And they had nice tents and things set up that would have been difficult to travel to, so it would be
Helpful.
nice to have those.
Okay.
Great. We've already talked about the ADA transition plan
Mm-hmm.
update and proposals. And we talked about potential new members. Jeff, do you have something that you want to share with us?
Sure. I'm on the landing commission, and we've been trying to get the town to allow parking along the west side of Hicks Bridge. There's a grassy park area that the town,
West side of Hicks Bridge, okay.
that faces north.
West side of Hicks Bridge that faces north.
Yeah, if we
Okay.
go over
It's
the
like-
bridge, and
It's
you're
about,
heading
Yeah.
towards the
Yeah, oh,
winery.
you're heading, before you hit the bridge,
no, well, I don't know.
from
which way-
88,
which
before
way,
you hit the bridge,
from 88 before, yes, before.
okay.
Where is this then? From 88 before you hit the bridge, where is it? On the left?
It's on the left side, on the left,
Okay.
yes.
Thanks.
It's just a beautiful grassy area.
Okay.
That we pay to have mowed, that we own.
Oh,
Okay.
cool. I always thought that was
And
that
has
house
not
was
been
big.
used in decades. And so we're going to put a bench there, and we will publicize, and we're gonna put a sign that says it's a town landing. It certainly occurs to me because people, when we pay someone to mow it, and when it gets mowed for years, people park their trucks there and they mow it, and occasionally people park illegally and go fishing or whatever they do, that it is posted no parking both sides of that road. It's been that way for decades. And so we're basically talking to the town police department that we cut down some of the bushes and the trees and the overgrowth that's right along the road, the sight lines, people coming fast across the bridge
Mhm.
will be able to see that people are parked there and that someone who's parallel parked there is pulling out.
Mhm.
So we basically want permission to have some parallel parking there, and there would be at least one handicap spot. The town's a little bit reluctant to do that. It's not the safest place to park in the world.
Mm.
It's, but my point has been, it's certainly safer than where I just parked in front of this town building, where you actually have to back out into
Mhm.
oncoming traffic.
Mhm.
We would just be parallel parking, we would move the rocks there in a little bit, so it would be safer to get out of your car,
Mhm.
improve the sightlines. So it seems to me that it's worth trying. It would be Hicks Bridge permit, Hicks Bridge landing permit
So what
parking.
is the,
So you would need to have a town permit
mhm.
to park there. But that's a relatively inexpensive thing. People can certainly bicycle there. But, and I expect whether we get permission to park there or not, we can put the bench there, and maybe people will ride their bicycles or park at the landing. But it's such a relatively easy place for an athletic person to wheelchair themselves, because it's flat,
Mhm.
it is mowed, certainly it's easy to push somebody, or for somebody who uses canes or whatever, or is elderly, it's beautiful. And why aren't we using it where it will be above sea level for many decades, unlike the head of Westport, which is
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
pretty much 50% unusable now
Mhm.
at almost every high tide, because it's so mushy and wet. And the town will likely have no ability to raise that, so it seems like this would be a good resource. So
Is there access to the, obviously there's access to the water, but could there be a walkway down to the river, or is it too steep?
worse, it is a dramatically worse cliff, except
Oh.
they don't roll in East Beach.
Oh, okay.
It's riprap. There was talk about when there was an effort to clear out some of the oyster beds and the rubble from the bridge. I suggested that instead of just dumping the rubble from the old bridge in a big hole that happens because of the river, they would actually build sort of a causeway out,
Yeah.
because there's a little island there, and that way people could. Yeah, that was another $3 to $5 million just study.
Mm.
Wow.
Corps of Marine years, so that idea went nowhere. So it will not be water access unless you are extremely athletic at rock climbing. And the water is not great there anyway. It's very flat.
Brackish and brown.
Yeah.
Well, it's flat.
Yeah.
It's like 8 inches deep at low tide.
Yeah.
Curious as to how people keep the motorboats there. Sometimes they have them moored way out away from their homes because there is no water
Yeah,
underneath.
it's really shallow there.
It is a great view though, looking north.
Yeah.
It's just wide open river.
If we talk maybe like croquet tournament or something, you know, just to be a fun place for people to gather and not have to drive all the way to the head of Westport or wherever else. And this town does not have many public parks.
Right.
Yeah, and I think given there's certain spots in town with waterfront access that it's just not feasible to have a handicap accessible area. This is one that could have that, and would make for a nice, a nice place to spend the afternoon looking over that part of the river, so.
Or picnic, I think.
And there's not a lot of boat traffic up there to create noise and fumes, so you can just sit and enjoy the day and enjoy the view.
No, there's active vehicular traffic, but it's just so. Yeah, it's not perfect.
And there are jet skis that go up and down in the summertime up there.
Pardon me?
There are jet skis that go up and down that part of it.
I don't know how much they go up beyond the bridge there. There's
We have neighbors who
trying
live
to
up,
regulate that. So.
yeah, we have neighbors who live up that way, and that's one of their complaints, because jet skis can be noisy.
Yep.
But it is a lovely place to sit. And for people who don't have a view of the river, you can go either sit at each beach and sit in your car and look out at the water, which I had done. Or hopefully this park will be developed so that people have a place where they can go and sit on a grassy area or sit on a bench.
I mean, so the issue is parking, which is oftentimes the issue. So, I mean, people could park at Hicksbridge Landing and then walk across the bridge, but
Seems more dangerous to cross the road than to park,
yeah, that'd be great.
if the concern is safety.
In your note to them, and it's a hike. And given the challenges we're currently having, that parking lot is very full a lot of the time. So,
Is that primarily at this stage what you're looking for is a letter of support from the commission?
yeah, it's not perfect parking, but so what?
Better than that.
Yeah.
A lot of places aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Uh,
It does seem, the alternative to still be able to use that would be parking across the street, which is not, it's a worse solution, I would think, than.
Across the bridge, right?
Correct, across the bridge and down the hill into the parking lot is filled with boat trailers all summer.
Right.
And if the concern is traffic coming over the bridge being a safety issue for parallel parking, I think it would be more of an issue for pedestrians. So,
And parallel parking seems to be the safest way to park. The diagonal, then you're backing out of the traffic.
right.
Right.
At least when you're pulling out parallel, people can see that, oh, somebody's coming.
Right. Yep.
They're not looking at their phones or whatever.
Where do you want us to send the letter of support?
The Board of Select, I'm sorry, the Select Board.
Okay.
You corrected yourself.
Very good. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, while we got you here real quickly, nothing's been moving on the landing. You remember you came and talked to us one time about accessibility? Is it Hicksbridge or the Hicksbridge Landing? Or
About
the dock or whatever?
well, we're sort of in a holding, we're trying to resolve the exit.
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
Because until we resolve, because we want to get that pulled together, because the design will change dramatically, it will be a much more limited.
Without that.
parking lot.
Right, if you can't get that.
And another many hundreds of thousands of
Wow.
dollars.
Okay.
If we have to actually build
Something.
a road.
Where does that stand First, we reviewed about licensing, then we reviewed about easement. Where do we stand now?
Haven't heard back from them in a while.
Still nothing,
Okay,
right?
Not
You know,
much.
They gotta say something. Yeah, I hear you.
Hopefully that gets resolved.
Yes.
well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
I hope you feel better.
Yeah,
That's what happens when you kick a door with your knee.
let ice be your friend.
The knee wins. The door wins.
The door wins, not the knee. The knee loses.
Our next meeting is on October 28th, 2024, in the Select Board meeting room. We will not be here.
Okay,
We're going to be in the Select Board meeting room.
okay.
I have just a quick thing. Just wanted to tell the board that it's a little, just a thing. South Coast just had a joint commission survey. So the joint commission is a private corporation that is hired by CMS, the Center for Medicare and Services, to come in and audit hospitals. So South Coast just went through one for disability, inclusion, and DEI, disability. Equity, thank you. Health equity, inclusion, and disability. And I'm very happy to say South Coast is the first hospital group in the Commonwealth to get the certification
Good.
through Joint Commission.
Fantastic.
And we got it without any recommendations, so they found no
Wow.
points that they felt we needed to correct or
Wow.
improve upon, which is great for the disabled community, or for every member of our community. But health equity is very important. So that made me feel really pretty good, and
That's
I
great.
think that we're starting to understand the needs of all people and kind of addressing that.
Fantastic.
So hopefully we will see things improve over time.
I'm glad you brought up South Coast. When I was visiting my new neurologist, Dr.
Mhm.
Stone, we again remarked to him the first time, Dr. Stone many times, about the size of those exam rooms at the
Right.
Brain and Spine Center. They are like,
They were supposed to change one of their exam rooms.
well,
And-
that's what we heard. Oh, they've been talking about it, they promised to do it. We all complain about the same thing. It hasn't happened.
Okay, I'll try to reach out
I
again
am
to,
the squeaky wheel.
yeah, as you should be. I like that.
And you are the grease.
Yeah, well, I am trying. I keep squirting that grease on every time I
There you
hear
go,
it.
thank you.
But I will bring that up because I was involved in a conversation with members of the neurology group, and there was an area identified that was going to be able to handle a high-low mat, and I gave them specs for a high-low mat that would accommodate, that could go down to 18 inches to allow a transfer, and it would be wide enough so it would be safe for someone to be transferred onto it and be able to roll side to side. So they did identify a space, and they did identify the equipment. And I don't know what happened. Unfortunately, it's not my realm,
Yep.
neurology, but I can certainly try to follow back up on it. It might be in capital. We haven't seen what's up for our capital equipment. The tables, the high-low tables that go 18 inches, the one that I recommended for them was 4x6, which is about the smallest one that you could put in there and still be able to roll side to side to be able to have somebody roll side to side, are about $8 or $10 grand. So it's not something that we can purchase just out of our own budgets. It's something that has to go to capital because our capital's over $5 grand. So
And finally, while I'm in my Let's Bash South Coast,
I
every time I go to a primary care doctor,
know.
also a South Coast, and his medical assistant looks at me and goes, "Can you get on the scale?"
Yeah, I know. I brought that up yet again, that I don't understand why we don't have roll-on scales as part of this whole health equity piece that was to be addressed.
And
At
there's
some time,
a
yes.
lot of art fund floating around out there.
Mhm. I agree. I'll bring it back up again, Brian.
Thank you.
I promise.
Okay, well, I am done bashing South Coast.
That's all right.
I like South Coast. I think South Coast is tremendous. I agree with you, though, Brian. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying what a great hospital as far as support and things that I've gone through has been tremendous. But I'm sorry that, I also am very mobile, so I don't have these issues like you have about. I never thought of the fact that those rooms are so darn small.
They are tiny, and
And I do agree about, when I go on the scale, I can stand on the scale, right? But
right, but
somebody in a
many
wheelchair
people
can't. That's terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, I am very, very happy with South Coast. I really like the doctors that I have there.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
the
yeah.
support staff. And I'm very glad that I made the change to South Coast, but
But there's still things that need to be
there are
addressed.
things
Absolutely,
and that's part of what our commission does.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I love being the squeaky wheel at South Coast meetings,
Thank you.
of getting that hand up, and they all,
And we're not blaming you. The thing is the follow through, right? You bring that up, and then what happens? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
Somebody's got to
I-
say, okay, we got it done. We did do this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They just say, okay, we'll take a look at
So,
it, and then the ball gets dropped.
my suggestion to
Mm.
whoever's talking with Amy at the DRG, the employee group on disabilities, is I would bring that up again. That's a great opportunity, because there are some big ears on that group
Well,
Yeah.
who is this?
that
Who
can
is
talk. So Amy Troutman, who is one of my staff members, that is the co-chair for the employee resource groups. They're called ERGs, and South Coast runs a variety of employee resource groups. There's
Okay.
one for people of color, there's one for LGBTQ plus peoples, there's one for veterans, and
I see.
there's one for abilities, differing abilities.
Mhm.
And Amy co-chairs the differing abilities one, and she has written to Brian, and Brian is going to go speak.
Brian doesn't like he looks like he knows what's going on.
Brian's speaking at the Teams meeting in October.
I will be one of the people that
One of the people.
participates, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
About
she's
what we do. Well,
so
you
she's
know,
a good contact.
she's great. So
Okay.
so Amy is the team leader for my pediatric program
Mm.
there. For our pediatric program there, she's fantastic. Amazing therapist, wonderful person, and really a great advocate for all. And she sits on this group with a variety of people from South Coast, some who have differing abilities, some who have children who have differing abilities, or spouses or family members or whatever.
I see.
And it's to just help. It's kind of like her stroke buddies. It's just to help. Like what do you need? What can we do to help? How can we get awareness out? What can we educate people on? We try to. We do a lot. I sit on the ERG very, very infrequently. Unfortunately, the time that they meet is the time that I have a standing meeting. So if my meeting gets canceled, I'll pop in
Mhm.
and listen to that one. But we've provided education for parents with kids that have either been on the spectrum or going to school for the first time, and what's an IEP, what's it all about. We've talked to parents about that are aging out of schools, and how do they, now your child is now going to be 22,
Right.
and what do you do when they age out? What do you do for long-term care for adults that as they're now aging, and the parent is now in their 60s or 70s,
Right.
and now the
support
child
is
is
there?
40, and how do you keep them going at your end of life? So it's really been a really great group. But she hears what I bring about what this group brings to our town, and she was excited to hear that, to then spread it to other towns and see what other towns are doing to support their people with disabilities. So,
I have on my list of things to discuss with Amy
okay.
when I get involved.
Oh, good.
Just what I bashed you about.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah, I will.
That's-
I will
yeah.
raise
But there's a lot of big ears
That sounds like a good
that's
idea.
on that are in
You gotta
that
get the right
meetings.
people. Absolutely.
Well, and that was one of the things, I want to talk to her about the things that our commission has been able to do to improve accessibility for people, to help people in need,
Mhm.
and the things we notice, and those are a couple of things.
And for employment, you know, how do we employ, how are we better employers
Yeah.
for people with disabilities?
So I'll just have to put on my thinking cap that.
That's it.
All the wonderful things that our commission has been able to do
Mhm.
and accomplish. And all the things that we've been talking about that we haven't yet been able to accomplish. And with that, it's time to adjourn. Everybody go
Okay.
home.
Good.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh,
Motion.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yeah, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.